Okay. So let's start it. So how is your energy today in the morning? Very good? Or so? Someone is sleeping already? No? Okay, that's good. I thought that I need to wake you up with my presentation, but I see that you are pretty much waked up with your coffee. Okay, so my name is Tomasz Manugiewicz. I work for Grand Parade William Hill here in Krakow office. So how many of you know something about agile culture? Raise a hand. Pretty good score. And how many of you knows about DevOps mindset? Not so many, but a couple of people. And how many of you are fulfilled or feeling fulfilled at work? Yeah, that's a good score. And how many of you would like to feel fulfilled? I guess everyone pretty much. So today, within those 45 minutes, I would like to share my experience and my research, how to use this Agile and DevOps to be more productive, more efficient, and ultimately more fulfilled at work. So looking on those two terms, the Agile and DevOps part sounds more familiar, right? At least for us as engineers. About Agile, the industry has been talking since 20 years. Personally, I've been talking since 10 years. About DevOps, it's pretty much new term, but it's a couple of years existing on the market. How about this culture and mindset thing? For engineers, this is something fuzzy, right? At least for me. Culture, cultural mindset, what does it mean? So I wanted to dig into the details and check what does it mean and how to combine it with those Agile and DevOps. So I did some research and found this sentence. Culture is an abstract, complex, and problematic term. And I said, wow, that's good, right? Because what do we do as engineers all days? We solve abstract, complex, and problematic riddles. Good sign. So I did more research and find those two guys, anthropologists, who combined 164 definitions of culture. So this is a lot. But this is great because we have a lot of data to analyze, yeah, as engineers. So I went through some of them, and I came across this guy, Gerd Hofstede. And this is very, very good example for my research because this guy is a psychologist as well as he finished the University of Engineering. What is more, this guy worked in IBM doing some research about the culture of the organization. So I said, I thought to myself, okay, that's good sign. And I found his book, and in his book, he wrote this definition of culture. Culture is collective programming of the mind which distinguish one group from the other group. It's about software development, I thought. Okay, so then what are the rules of our programming of the mind? There are a lot of rules, but for me and for our industry, that's a crucial part. So the first, ceremonies. Do you know any ceremonies in your life, work life, in your software development?
Daily stand-up.
Daily stand-up, yeah. That's good. Pretty much shorter ceremony, energetic one, good. Anything else, you know? Retrospective, yes, exactly. So we have a lot of ceremonies in Scrum framework, and I guess we can have some ceremonies outside of Scrum, just dedicated to one team. For example, one of my team had a ceremony that after stand-up, they were going to the cafe, for 10 minutes and talk. So that's the ritual that they had every day. Or the other team had a ritual that after end of the sprint on Friday, they ordered the pizza for them. There is also a norm part. So the norm part tells us the rules how to behave on those ceremonies. So for example, if we are on a planning session, what should we do there? What's the agenda? Who should participate? Who shouldn't participate? What we supposed to do there and what's the outcome? So this is an example of the norms. Roles, that pretty much obvious, right? In our world, especially in our world, you have a lot of roles. Scrum roles, DevOps type of roles, even if it makes sense or not, we are adding this DevOps title to our roles. So we have a lot, and people are responsible for the different things. Culture also has the languages, and we have our own language. What happens when you talk about the deployment sitting next to your uncle? Probably they don't understand anything, right? So we have dedicated language. And the last but not least, we have art and material culture. So this is desire that people want to create something more, create something tangible. And we create, right? We are here to do software, yeah? Does it look familiar to you? What is that? Yeah, exactly, Agile Manifesto. That's part of Agile Manifesto, to be precise. The left part, so the part that we value more. And when we see those 4 sentences, that makes sense to us, the crucial thing is those 3 words: interaction, collaboration, and responding. It has something in common with culture. Because in culture, we interact with each other. We respond to each other. We collaborate to create something. There is also this working software part, which is the art part, yeah? Call it whatever you want, but it's creating something tangible. So for us, sometimes it's art to create beautiful, shiny code, right? Why do we need a culture then? We need a culture because we are hardwired to bond. It means that we survived on this world because we were able to build groups. We are not the strongest creatures in the world. We are not the fastest one, but we survived. Not dinosaurs, for example, right? So that's the case that if we build the groups, we can survive because we can support each other. It provides us also food, because in the group we can have some roles, some people who loves hunting or have the ability to hunt and provide us food. So that's why we are here. And the culture part on building the group tells us or provides us also survival within the group, because existing in the group is not so easy, right? Who experienced some difficult situation within some groups? Within your team, for example, difficult conversation. Anyone? Yeah. Yeah, a lot, right? Sometimes. Because we are individuals, we need to come together. So the culture part defines the rules how to live together. For example, let's say that we are in the office sitting there, everyone has a desk, and there is a non-written rule that we have some comfort zone, I would say. The zone where we feel secure. And when someone is coming to us, he or she stays around this distance. And it's varies from culture to culture, but it's around this distance. On the other hand, in the bus, when we are commuting to work, we have a different goal, go right away to work. And sometimes when the bus or tram is crowded, we can stand like this, arm to the other guy, and we also feel secure. Or maybe not comfortable, but we are sure that anyone will do anything to us, will not punch us because we are touching them. Because the rule is, in the tram, we can be closer, we have to be closer to come to work. So that's how it works. And this guy Hofstede that I mentioned, this psychological engineer, defined in his book 3 levels of the human programming. The first one is our operating systems of the human nature. So everything that we have together, we inherited, and those are the instincts that we have. The second part is this collective programming, so the culture thing. So all the norms and rules that define how to behave and what to do with those instincts. And the third part, which is the most important part today, today in the talk, it's personality. So it's mental programming of our brain, and this is unique from person to person. There is anyone else in the world having the same personality that you. And that's very important today for us, because that's where the mindset is located. So what is this magic mindset word? Mindset is a belief, attitude, or assumption that we have about ourselves, about the entire world, so ultimately about the relations with people. And coming back to our development world, we all know those phases, those DevOps chain of building software. So how it's combined when we combine this DevOps part and the mindset part? It's actually our beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions about what we do with those phases. So for example, when you do the coding part, pair programming, you can have the assumption that my code is not so clean, I'm shy, maybe I'm afraid. So I don't like to do pair programming, and I would like to avoid it. On the other hand, though, you can have an assumption that my code is the best in the world, and nobody will give me advices how to code, right? We are professionals, yeah? And in that way, you can make the other person uncomfortable working with you. When you do code reviews, for example, do you know all the stories that small code chunk change can take weeks or days of discussions, or even worse, not even discussions, but putting the comments to the tool whilst you are sitting next to the guy next to you, right? Putting your command and your command, I think that way. So that's the assumption that we have about our code, yeah? When we go to this development operations part, what does DevOps mean? Development plus operations. And the world is going crazy with those pluses, because during my research I checked that there's a lot of ideas like DevSecOps, ArcOps, and all those. It's all about connecting groups of the people together. Yeah? So when you connect with the operations, you may have some assumptions. Oh, operations, they just deploy my application or even monitor the applications. They don't know anything what's going on in the code, so I will not talk to them. Or you have a different assumption. They will do all the work and I don't need. They can also have the assumption that they are just operations and I don't know what's going in the code, so I will be not bothering even checking the code. So that is our assumption, beliefs, and attitudes that we need to break in order to get together and cooperate. I did some research about what industry says about DevOps, and Amazon has a pretty big website about the DevOps, and this is the definition, what they say. So what we see as engineers, obviously the practices, tools, and applications. Do you like using new tools? Implementing new one? Yeah? There are a lot of tools on the market. However, there is also this small cultural philosophy wording, and again, what does it mean, this culture? Digging deeper, I found this one, that communication and collaboration, they say, is one of the key of DevOps. Moreover, Puppet and Splunk also found out it within the report they produced last year, that sharing is the key of DevOps. So collecting all together it, communication and collaboration and sharing, according to Amazon, Puppet, Splunk, and the industry, and our maybe feeling, right? It's three aspects crucial in DevOps. So talking about the tools, do you know some of them? Do you use some of them? Yeah. Are you excited to implement new tool from this one or different stack? That's the thing. So the tools are very, very important to us. And we need to appreciate that without those tools, there won't be automation, so ultimately won't be DevOps. But what they say in the reports, the DevOps is about the relations. So those tools are just supporting us, supporting the processes that we have, supporting our needs, but it's about connecting people together. Doing some research again to check what the team effectiveness is. That's the holy grail that everyone wants to do, right? Wants to have the team effectiveness. So there are some companies on the market and some psychologist groups, they did a research about that. So what do you think, what is the key in the effectiveness of the teams from your perspective? Any ideas? Okay, I can tell you what they found out. So let's see. A lot of things, different ones sometimes, but some of them have something in common. In every single research, there was two things. The meaning of what you do, or the purpose they call it, and the relationship aspect. So it goes to the direction that team effectiveness is also connected with relations and with having a purpose. So I found that those three codes are responsible for those two, relations and purpose. And those are not the hash codes from the passwords from those teams, from those companies. But do you have any idea what it can be? Yeah, exactly, chemical formulas. So those are the chemical substances, those three chemical substances that we have in the world. More precisely, those are the neurotransmitters that we have incorporated in our brain and our nervous system. So the first one looks like this. Do you know what it can be? Guessing, chemistry? Yes, dopamine, exactly. So that's the dopamine. And dopamine is triggered when we achieve the goal. And it's incorporated to our brain because of the survival mechanism that I mentioned before. So when we, for example, do hunting, or when we were doing hunting in the past, we found some track on the ground, and bam, we had a dopamine shot. So then we decided, okay, I'm hungry, I see this track, so I will follow that. And we find another one. And bam, we have the dopamine shot again. And we have another one, and hopefully we'll finally catch the animal, get a lot of dopamine to get this animal to our arms, and come back to home to eat. The only issue with the dopamine is that it doesn't last long. So it helps us a lot with this hunting exercise, but it doesn't last long. However, it's giving us the fun and the pleasure. And right now in our technology world, we can easily see that, for example, with the likes on the Facebook. It's the same thing. We have a like, bam, we have the dopamine shot. We have another like, yes, we have it. But it's less and less touchable for us, because when you have, for example, 100 likes, 101, it's okay, someone gives me a like, but I would like to 150 likes. So it's increasing, right? The appetite decreasing. Also, it's connected with our phones. So we are checking notifications, we are checking our messages, even if they are not coming. We are just checking the phone. The research saying that regular user of the phone touches the screen 2,675 times. Some people who may be addicted, the maximum part, they said, is 5,400 times per day touching the phone. Remember that times, maybe some of them remember, when the phone was just for calling? Who remembers that times? A lot of people, right. And what did you do with the phone? Where did you get it? Somewhere there, right? It was laying somewhere, and when it was ringing, you were picking it up, and that's it. So 10 times per day, 20 times per day. If someone was a very social person, 40 times per day. If someone has a mom who's calling him or her every hour. But it wasn't, we were not counting in thousands, right? So this is the dopamine one. The other, more complicated, this is serotonin. And serotonin triggers when we feel proud. When we do something for others and we are praised, we get the serotonin to our blood. And that's why we have all those awards like Oscars, MTV awards, even company awards, because we want to be awarded. It's the same mechanism, because the brain gives us the award in the position of serotonin, because if we help people, we have more chances to survive again, right? So that's interesting part. And also, the serotonin part is not just releasing in your brain, it's releasing in the brain of person who you're helping. But the more significant thing is that it's releasing to the brain of person who is observing that. And that's the case when we say that we can spread the good things around the world. Because those guys have something in the brain, maybe they don't know anything what it does, but they feel, okay, I saw this guy helping this one, the other guy, and I feel good, maybe I will help someone else, and then I will feel good. So that's the helping part. And the last, but not least, the most complicated one. Do you know what that can be? That's oxytocin, the third one. And oxytocin is released when you build a relationship with someone, when you connect to someone. And the research says that you need to connect in the real life, and then you get the oxytocin. What we have as an issue is that we are connecting with the Facebook, for example, a lot with social media, and we hope we will get oxytocin. We are getting the dopamine, that's right, but it not last long, so we need to have more friends and more connections and more comments. But we feel the void inside, so we are trying to fill that void with the dopamine. So oxytocin is released when we build relations, and also it helps us to survive, because when we build the relations, we feel good, we feel belonged, we feel that someone cares about us, we feel love. So it helps us to survive, it gives us the energy and positive impact on others. And it looks like, from the research, that fulfillment, this magic word we are all talking about, it's about dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. And flow of those three over time. When we are engineers, you can imagine the plot and three levels of those substances. And if they are in the balance, we feel fulfilled. Of course, it's not stable, so the life is life, right? So we feel sometimes better, sometimes not so good. We have some relations, or we are somewhere that we don't have relations, so it's up and downs. But in a given time frame, if the average is okay, we are fulfilled. If not, we don't feel that, but we don't know what that is, that this void in us. So two examples, two corner cases. One corner case is when you have the serotonin and oxytocin part, because you are working in the startup which helps, non-profit, for example, startup which helps people, and you are doing a lot of great things. However, the startup hasn't paid you since 6 months. So ultimately, you are not able to have some fun, to go, even with the friends who are connected with, to the pizza. So most likely you are not happy. Even you may not have the money to pay the bills. The other corner case is when you have just dopamine. So you have a lot of connections on Facebook, but not high quality one, real one. But you have a lot of fun. You play a lot, you play on the PlayStations, you have some fancy fast cars, you do a lot of even extreme sports, traveling around the world, partying. We all know that, I guess. At least some of it, right? So that's the part when you feel, yeah, I will be happy. But you are missing some serotonin and dopamine. So then if serotonin and oxytocin, so then if dopamine is going down, you again feel void. And you can have a lot of money, but you are not happy. That's why we are trying to answer the question if having the money gives you happiness. And the answer is, the joke says, right? That no, it doesn't. But I would prefer crying the Ferrari rather than a very old car. So that's the thing. When we have this Ferrari, we can still be happy, and money is not a bad thing. We just need to get the serotonin and oxytocin. So that's we are helping someone. People like Bill Gates or someone else, they are putting a lot of money to help someone. That's why, because they realize after years spent on this dopamine part that the other part is also important. And this guy, Robert Waldinger, is the leader of the project led on the Harvard University about what makes us happy and healthy. And this extremely interesting, remarkable research, because what they did, they took 724 people researching about those guys, about private and corporate lives, basically interviewing them every single year, year by year by year, in the period of 75 years. It's extremely rare that we have such big data to analyze. And in that group, there were different kind of people from different kind of environments. There were people who were poor. There were people very rich. There were people who went up from the bottom to the top of the social ladder. There were people who did this on the opposite side, from the bottom to the top. There even was the President of the United States, they say. They still continue this research with the 2,000 children of those guys. So that's something that's ongoing. You can check it on TED Talk that this Robert Waldinger is saying. And what they found out during the 75 years of research, that find out that high-quality relationships are the key to be happy and healthy. Full stop. no matter how much money you have, no matter what you do, what you achieved, that's at least the results of the research. So thinking about building the high-quality relationships together, I wanted to share my thoughts how to build those high-quality relationships. I guess we have some high-quality relationships in our private lives. That's what we are striving for, right? We have a lot of friends, spouses, families. We have some. Even maybe tricky question, who is the conference today with someone else, meeting with someone, or going together someone through those booths or the companies? Yeah. It looks like 3 days of talks, corporate environments with the booths, some fun stuff. It's good, but it's better if we share with others. So why and how we should create those relationships in our work environment? Sometimes we say, yeah, that's work, just work, 9 to 5, that's it, I have my life somewhere else. And that's totally fine, that's okay. The thing though is that we spend a lot of time at work. Some research says that we spend more time at work than at home with our spouses. So ultimately, do we want to use these 8 hours every day to have serotonin and oxytocin, or just leave it for the evening? Both ways are fine, but I guess if we have connections at work as well, we can be more happy, we can get more of those substances. So those are the key elements that personally for me are important. There are a lot how to build relationships, there are books, thousands of books, but those are the most important for me. Show up and be seen, meaning engage fully yourself in the talking with each other. Show up as you are, be authentic, be patient if someone else is not so fast in speaking. Try to build this connection. Also, the other is be kind and be grateful. So be kind to others when you speak with them, and be grateful for others do for you. And ultimately, you can belong then. Belong to the groups, belong to the broader group. So that's a big words, right? So coming back to the software development, as we are engineers, yeah? So how we can use those left side skill set to improve right side skill set, and to have more DevOps oriented organization, to have more effective teams. When we see on this coding part, for example, those exercises with the code review, codes, pair programming, and clean code. When you are doing some code practices, show up fully. Even if you are sometimes afraid of your code, maybe you are shy, try to be courage and show up with your code. If you are doing some analysis with the business guys, show up and give them the time. Even if it's the 4th meeting in the day, try to be, open. Honest that maybe I'm tired because of the meeting, but open with them. When you are doing something with operations guys, be grateful. Gratefulness is magic word. When you are grateful, you are not giving something to the other because, oh, I'm grateful because you did something, but you build energy in yourself, that you are grateful because you have a very good world around you and good people. So be grateful that this guy can help you. Also, be kind, that maybe I can help the operations team. And the most important part, belong. So we need to belong to something. If we don't feel belong, we feel disconnected, we don't have this oxytocin, and there is a fire alarm in our brain releasing cortisol. Because if we are disconnected, disconnection is the dangerous situation for us because we may not survive according to our instincts, right? So build this connection, belong to the group, and break this wall that those guys are operations and we are developers, or we are the operations and we don't care what developers is. It's the same with QAs, it's the same with the architects and so on. That's why this word is coming up with ArcOps, DevSecOps. That's the case. The fun part, so this dopamine part, that's the mechanism when companies can give us some happiness. And there are a lot of research, a lot of articles about how to come up with new benefits, how to attract the people. Do you like those benefits at work, the PlayStation ones, the football and so on? No? I like it very much. I used to play football and I loved it. Right now I don't play. So this is the fun part, and the companies are trying to provide us fun part. However, it's just a dopamine shot, and companies, they are not able to provide us more. Because for serotonin and oxytocin, most likely we are responsible. Of course, the corporate environment can provide us some situations when we can connect, some international weeks when we can meet new people, but this is in us to go to those guys and to get the serotonin and oxytocin part. So if we do that, we can change this fun part to joy and fill this void inside of us with the joy, with the fulfillment. And how it's impacting the environment and the impact that we would like to have. Who would like to have the impact on the work you are doing? Me too. I would like to have the impact. Pretty much everyone, starting the very junior guy just after university, going to the first job, they say on the interview, I would like to make an impact. And that's good. That's our desire, to make an impact. The only limitation is that sometimes we are not able to make an impact at work. Companies are giving us some possibilities, of course, but this is not automated way. It's like companies are big firms with different goals, with the shareholders and so on. So it's sometimes difficult to give people, hey, you have the impact on this department, you can do whatever you want, right? However, the impact you can have, it's impact about world around you. So you can decide if you would like to have the impact. Not meaning that getting dopamine and implementing new technologies, right? New tool, fancy stuff, my friends do it, I want to learn about it, I want to use this tool, my manager, please give me approval. Usually they give because they believe you that the tool is good. However, it's going on and on and on. You would like to solve more complicated problems, more tools, and so on. Having the impact on the others around you makes you feel better because this is something that you can decide, not the company. We are switching the companies just like this, 1 year after year after year sometimes. We even don't ask on the recruitment process, why do you switch the jobs so frequently? Because it's obvious that in the technology world we are switching it because we want to learn something new. So we are searching for this holy grail, but ultimately we are not finding it anywhere, right? So the thing is that this quotation from Jane Goodall, I will read it for you. You cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you do makes a difference. And you have to decide what kind of difference you would like to make. So that's your decision. Frankly speaking, that's your responsibility how to fill this void that we may sometimes have. If I will help the guy on the right and help the guy on the left. Simon Sinek says in his talks that he has a lot of experience with Marines. And he says that the Marines, they are not dying for the politicians, for the countries. They are dying for the colleague on the left and colleague on the right. And they are making the impact. So that's something for you I would like to leave today, that if we have this DevOps and Agile environment, we have processes, we have tools. The funny thing is, actually I realize it right now, that both Agile and DevOps are talking about tools. Agile manifesto says over processes and tools, so people and interaction over processes and tools. DevOps, they don't say anything about over, but they say about tools. That's interesting stuff. This one I will take for myself from today. So basically, what I would like to leave with you today is to realize these mechanisms that I mentioned about serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, to realize that our fulfillment and happiness automatically can improve our efficient works of the teams and effectiveness. And if you realize, then you can choose. I'm not saying the one way is better and another is better, but you have the possibility to choose. And if you choose, find your North Star, decide what you would like to do tomorrow or day after tomorrow in order to be more closer to this fulfillment state at work. Thank you very much for spending 40 minutes today with me, and I hope you will enjoy the day of the conference. Thank you.